Okay, it's been a while since I've done a dedicated rod review, but this one definitely deserves its own video. So here's the 2021 Daiwa Labrax 9-foot medium light. This is more of a first impressions video. I've had this rod out for a couple of trips, but just some basic stats. 9-foot rod, capable of throwing a little over 1 ounce, and it weighs just a hair over 4 ounces. And that's with that stupid tennis grip tape I'm using to protect the exposed blank from my rod holder. There's the AGS guide, that's Daiwa's proprietary carbon guide system, and supposedly it improves sensitivity. What it is extremely lightweight. Now before I get further into the review, just another quick update on the private lessons. They're still ongoing. They're going to run till the end of the season. And at this point, I'm pretty satisfied with how I'm structuring and breaking down these lessons. I think I've got it down to a science in terms of relaying the information that's necessary. One thing I'm getting a lot of inquiries about are jerkbait lessons, and that's not something I really considered before, simply because the jerkbait bite can be very inconsistent. Well, by now, since I've devoted nearly all my fishing time in between lessons and work and life to jerkbait fishing in the surf, I've gained some confidence in terms of the equipment, the modifications I need to make to these baits, and just the difference in technique working jerkbaits out front versus back in the bay or rivers. And at this point, if someone really wants a jerkbait lesson, let me know, right? Shoot me an email, DM me on Instagram. I'll leave all that info in the description below. The thing is, nothing is going to outfish the 1/4 ounce jig head 6-inch jerk shad. We've done a ton of comparisons over the years and nothing else even comes close. The jerkbait makes up for it in terms of fun, right? At this point, I've caught so many fluke on a jig that I want to catch them almost any other way. And when you have the right conditions, the jerkbait can be a pretty potent weapon, as you saw in some of my previous videos. Okay, anyway, back to the Labrax review. Now, the main reason I bought this rod to test out is for casting distance. Sometimes you see a piece of structure on the beach just a little bit outside your normal casting range, and you wish you had a longer rod with you. This one fits the bill. 9-foot versus 7.6, there's a significant casting distance difference. And I would say I'm getting maybe 25 to 30% more range on the 9-foot Labrax versus my 7'6" Steve's AGS. In terms of the balance, yes, it is only 4 ounces, but at 9 foot, it's going to be a little bit more forward balanced. When you have a rod that's under 4.5 ounces, it's not going to make that big of a difference. All right, I'm never someone who thinks balance is more important than overall weight. Not when you're talking about tackle that's throwing 3/8 to ½ ounce total payloads. This rod exceeded all expectations in terms of fishing, jigging comfort in hand. And as you can see from some of these hook set footage, the taper, the way it loads up on a fish, perfect. There's something special about leaning back into a hook set on a 9-foot rod and watching that entire blank just load up past the stripper guide, putting a lot of pressure, but even pressure on the fish that you just yanked out of the sand. There's a good example of the difference casting distance makes. That fish was on the inside edge of that trough, and I could not reach it with my 7'6" rods. Now that's not to say I won't be using my Steve 7.6 anymore for fluke jigging. It's just, I bought this rod on a whim, curiosity got the best of me, and it's exceeding all expectations. As for the reel that I'm pairing to the 9-foot Labrax, once you get over the 9.6 medium light, I believe it's the 8.6, 9-foot, and 9.6 medium light, they change the reel seat. So on those three models is the reel seat you see here, which is a slimmer, almost a freshwater version of their air beam seat. But once you get heavier than that, once you get into the medium and medium heavy actions, the reel seat goes up a size or two. So on this rod, I found my Vanford 3000 MHG. That's a JDM only model. I believe that's a 4000 body with a 3000 spool, and it's by far, in my opinion, the most versatile spinning reel size that Shimano or Daiwa makes. It just goes so well with your longer freshwater rods, but also this 9-foot Suzuki rod. Now here is something very surprising to me. I'm actually using it for jerkbaits, and not even a full-size jerkbait. This is a pointer 78. It's a 3/8 ounce bait, and it's not ideal, but it's perfectly viable. Now, if you watch closely, every time I go and snap the jerkbait, the entire blank sort of bounces around a little bit. It kind of wobbles, and that's not ideal, right? That doesn't feel great, but again, perfectly viable. It's light enough of a rod, even at 9 foot. I'm working a jerkbait tipped down on a 9-foot rod, freehanding it, which, you know, it's still kind of mind-boggling, even though I've caught dozens of jerkbait fish on it so far. Holy moly.
Do it, do it, do it!
Oh man.
Oh my.
That's our friend Dave. Dave, by the way, recently caught an absolute monster from shore. 27 inches, and you can tell how fat that fish is. In my opinion, over 8 pounds all day. He didn't have a boga with him that day, but he's going to rectify that for his next shore mat or possibly doormat. Okay, that's about it. Now, this was not the most in-depth review because I've only had the rod for a couple of weeks, and the footage you see here today is from the first trip out with that rod. So if I think it warrants it, I'll do a further review later on in the season, or maybe after the season is over. In any case, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.